Before we start today, I have to tell you about State Farm agent Brian McDevitt. A lot of our listeners have gone to him for all their insurance needs, and he's been very helpful in getting them the coverage they deserve. There's no games with Brian. He's just here to help and make sure you feel safe. So if you have insurance needs and you haven't called him yet, what are you waiting for? Dial up the number, 630-796-2662. That's 630-796-2662. Or find him online at bryanismyagent.com. That's bryanismyagent.com, and make sure to mention Sports Talk Chicago. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Sports Talk Chicago. Here with Jon Zaghloul, and we are back and ready for today's special guest. He's the CEO of MuellerFootball.com, host of the Football GM podcast, and the 2000 NFL Executive of the Year. Please welcome Randy Mueller to the program. Randy, it's great to have you on. How are you?
Thanks, John. I'm doing great. Happy we have some real football to talk about. Camp's opening up. It's kind of cool.
So, Randy, what's your take on the Bears and their camp opening up first off?
Well, I think it's obviously a big year for the Bears, that's for sure. They've made some changes. They've made some additions. Obviously, they need to show progress on the field. I think everybody's attention obviously is going to be on the quarterback room, but there's some other things they have going on with their roster that some of them I kind of like, some I don't. But, hey, it's going to be a tough league. A tough division for them, but they've got to show progress, and I think all eyes are going to be on offense more than anything else.
What do you like and not like about them?
Well, I like the fact that they were able to make the deal for Justin Fields. I think their future is obviously in his hands. I think there's a little bit of a double-edged sword there because even though he might be the best option right now, I'm not sure he's the best option, if that makes any sense. So I understand where Coach Nagy's coming from with regard to Andy Dalton. He's made his statements clear that he's the guy. It'll be interesting to see how long that lasts. I think all Bears fans are probably of the ilk that it's not if Fields takes over, it's when, and that's probably the view from the outside as well.
You know, Matt Nagy yesterday at a press conference was asked, when would Fields start? And all they said was, we want him to be as electric as possible. So he didn't deny when Fields would come in. Could you see him coming in earlier than even we expect?
I think that's possible. It sounds like he's made great strides. They've given him some checklists of things to work on and improve. And obviously the kid went back and did that. I don't think anybody ever questioned his work ethic. So his skill set is evident. It's a matter of him kind of learning the speed of the NFL game. I do think things could happen quicker for him. I think it's all about how he views processing the information and the speed of the game. And we won't know that until we get into the preseason. Obviously, doing things in practice is one thing, but the speed of the game is totally different. And as you know, from preseason to regular season as well. But we'll know. I think people will know when the time for Fields to play is. It's a combination of two or three things, but I don't think it will take a trained eye to see when the right time is to give this kid the reins of the team.
How tough is it to adjust to the speed of the game and then learn a new offense like he has?
Yeah, I think that's the dilemma, right? It's one thing to memorize a playbook, to know on paper where people line up, where to position people, how to make all the calls, but it's a totally different character when you've got to do everything under a time management system where the play clock, is winding down. You've also got post-snap reads to make. I mean, there's just so many things that make decision-making and the way you process information hard to duplicate until you get in a game. So, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take game time, and really all we'll have to go on before the regular season are scrimmages and preseason games.
Are there any benefits in sitting him no matter what the case may be?
Oh, I think there's great benefits in it. I just don't know if the Bears can afford to do that. I guess that's the dilemma I was referring to. I think there's great benefits for him not playing. It's everybody's plan, I swear, to not play the guy, to come in and say, hey, we're going to sit him. But there'll be a time, there'll be windows in the process that open up that say, hey, we got to rethink this. The Seattle Seahawks did not plan on playing Russell Wilson his rookie year. Trust me, there was no way they were going to admit to, hey, this guy is our best option. He just kept showing up day after day after day and proving everybody wrong and showing them that the time is now. We'll see if Justin can do that.
Randy Mueller here on Sports Talk Chicago. Randy, how close are the Bears to a playoff appearance?
Well, I think they've got to show progress. I don't know how close they are to a playoff appearance, but I think they're close, and that's all that matters, really. The team that Ryan and Coach Nagy have put together, I believe they think is a playoff team. I mean, they made the playoffs last year. A lot of people say they backed in, but that doesn't matter. They made it. I think where we're going to find out how good they are is offensively. Are they going to be able to show some explosive plays where they don't have to dink and dunk their way down the field for 10 or 12 snaps to score? That's the bottom line for me. I want to see a little bit more of a wide open approach. And who knows if these quarterbacks can pull that off or not. But Matt's going to have to expand his system and make it hard for people to defend them. Otherwise, they're not a playoff team. I think defensively they'll survive, and not only survive, we know they have good players on defense, but the offense is the key, like it's been the last couple of years for the Bears. So I think a playoff season is in reach. Whether they can put it all together or not, I don't know. That's time will tell.
How important is the run game offensively? Matt Nagy said he wants to commit to that more this year. How important is that?
Well, I think it's important. There's no doubt about it, but let's not kid ourselves. That's going to wind the clock more than anything else, and that's going to keep the defense off the field. But if they want to score points, they're going to have to spread it out and throw the ball downfield, and that's where they've been lacking the last couple of years. I think by saying that, you always want to continue to build the run game, especially when you have a young quarterback like Fields, because that can be his best friend. But they're going to have to spread it out eventually and wing the ball around the field. That's what's winning in the NFL now, and that's what it's going to have to happen in Chicago for them to take the next step.
How much does Aaron Rodgers' return affect their playoff chances this year?
Oh, I think it's a factor, without a doubt. I think it's a factor for a couple teams, Minnesota as well. And I think Detroit's probably on the outside looking in still. They're not ready for prime time yet. But I do think Aaron Rodgers coming back. Now, the key for me with the Aaron Rodgers thing is, what Aaron Rodgers are you going to get? Are you going to get a guy fully vested, or are you going to get a guy with one leg out the door knowing he's going to be somewhere else a year from now? So that's a little bit of a fickle fate, situation. And I'm not sure how that's going to go. We'd like to think he's going to be the MVP, but the reason they drafted Jordan Love to start with is because he was under the MVP production 2 years ago, and in 19 he wasn't the same guy. So we'll see what we get. I think they're poised to make a deep run. I think you'd have to, on paper, say they're the second best team in the NFC with Aaron Rodgers. So it definitely makes it tougher on the Vikings and the Bears directly. That's for sure.
Were you surprised that he came back? What was your reaction?
I'm not surprised. He just didn't have any cards to play. I mean, it's one thing to make threats, but it's another one to actually be able to do anything about it. I'm anxious to see the details of the agreement they made with him to get him back in. Obviously, we're hearing that they voided up maybe the final year. When people were talking about voiding the final 2 years of it, that made no sense to me. So I don't see any reason Green Bay would have needed to acquiesce to those levels. I do think if they have 1 year left on his deal, at least they'll be able to have some trade value for him. And let's face it, they'll end up trading him a year from now, which might have been their plan initially when they drafted Jordan Love anyway, to sit on him for 2 years and then move on from Aaron Rodgers. So I'm not surprised he's there. I'm happy he's there. I think it's good for football. I think it's good for everybody that he's there. Obviously, the MVP of the league will be fun to follow. Again, the storylines are endless coming out of Green Bay. So, but I'm not surprised. If he was going to play football, he was going to have to play for Green Bay unless they had a total about face of the way they felt about him. And no one's willing to trade the MVP of the league. No one wants that on their resume, that's for sure.
Do you see him playing after Green Bay? If that final contract year is void, do you see him playing on another team?
Oh, yeah, I see him playing on another team for sure. I think he wants to play beyond this year. And, he was signed for 22 and 23 as well. I think the 23 contract is the one that voids. Again, that's what we've heard. I don't think there's, as long as he has a 22 contract, the Packers have value to trade. If they didn't have that year on deal, he walks for free. And there's no way I'm the Packers that I'm going to let him walk for free and turn my back on a chance to get 2 or 3 first-round picks just to have Aaron Rodgers for 1 year. That's the scenario that made no sense to me.
How great of a quarterback is Rodgers?
Oh, I think he's a Hall of Fame player. There's no doubt about that. He's proven it. He's a multi-time MVP. The fact that they've only won 1 Super Bowl really isn't a reflection of him. they've had really 30 years of quarterback hierarchy to come, back with 2 Super Bowls. People say that's, not as good as they could have done and underachieving, but it's hard. Let's face it. It's really hard. I think Aaron's in the top echelon of talents to ever have played the position, and still in this league right now, he's one of the top 2 or 3 guys.
Randy Mueller here on Sports Talk Chicago. Randy, let's go to Houston now. Is Deshaun Watson going to be traded?
I don't believe he's going to be traded. I think that's been the Texans' plan all along, was to wait this thing out. I don't think the thing that would really surprise me, I don't think they'll do an about face and all of a sudden trade him for a discount now. There's just so many unknowns with this guy's future. The fact that he is on the practice field kind of surprises me. I didn't think the league would allow that, but we're not playing games yet, and I can't believe we get to that point. I think in his case, with all of the pending criminal and all the other legal things that are unknown, it's going to be hard for any team to make a deal for him. I know that his agent and others have trumpeted the fact that their team's asking and doing their due diligence on it. There's no way you can know. The league might come down on this guy, and he might not play a down this year. Remember, Ben Roethlisberger was suspended 6 games in 2010, and he bargained him down to 4 for one of these sexual assault things that was never charged. There's couple dozen of these, so I can't imagine the league's not going to act at some point.
Why does market heat up despite all the allegations? I've seen so many trade rumors about Watson recently. Why is that happening?
Yeah, I just think it's people looking for content, to be honest with you. I think it's agendas driven, and sometimes the media is involved in that. Everybody wants their story out there, wants their agenda out there. I don't think this guy's getting traded, and even the asking price that some of the people are reporting, there's no way a GM could even get close to that compensation to have this guy on your team and never know when he's going to play. That's crazy if you're a GM from another team. So I don't know. I just think that's the NFL, right? Everybody's looking for an angle. Everybody's looking for a way to project the future. I think in this case, he is where he is. And even if the Texans were going to trade him, I could see them hanging on to him for the year and dealing with it next year.
Do you believe yourself that he'll even play this year?
I do not, John, and that's just my gut feeling. I don't think he'll play this year. I think all of this posturing, I think he had to come in. That's a business decision, and it's a smart one on his regard. Now, I don't know if he'll get paid or not for this year, but I would think at some point the league is not going to want this cloud over it, and I think it will end up being a cloud, more so than a sports cloud. It'll be a CNN type cloud, a bigger story than we know. And I just don't know that the league will want that. So if I was a betting man, I don't think he will play this year, regular season, that is.
Who starts for the Texans then? Who takes over that spot?
Well, I think Tyrod Taylor is the guy that they envision doing it. I'm familiar with Tyrod from my time with the Chargers. He's very capable starter, maybe not an upper echelon guy, but they also drafted the young kid from Stanford that I think every week Tyrod starts, this kid from Stanford learns, the Mills kid, and I think he may have a chance long-term to develop into an NFL player. So they've got some options beyond Deshaun. Obviously, none of them of Deshaun's level, but they've been able to build their team, really, and they've made a million changes all off season with Deshaun Watson being on the shelf. So I think there's part of Nick Caserio, the GM, that wants to see what this team's going to be. I think I like the team better than most. I'm not saying this is a playoff team, but I don't think this is a 2 or 3 win team. I think it's a better team than that.